Until now, as we've been parsing verbs, you will have noted that every verb was always cal. It was as if cal was a freebie in the parsing. Starting now in chapter 14, we come to the second major verbal stem, what we call binyanim, or a binyan, in the Hebrew grammar. There will be 5 more after this. This is the PL, then we will discuss the pual, the hifil, the hofal, the nifal, and the hitpael. Together, these 6 non-cal stems are called the derived stems, in the sense that they may be thought of as deriving from a more basic cal form. So the 7 stems overall, the cal plus these other 6, will constitute the vast majority of the Hebrew verbal system that you will learn. Each of these 7 verbal stems can be put into each verbal inflection that you have already learned from the cal. In other words, within the cal, we had a perfect, an imperfect, a participle, volatives, etc. Likewise, the PL can have all of the same functions, a perfect, imperfect, participle, volatives, etc., as can a pual, a hifil, a hofal, etc. So as you go through the next section of this grammar, where we learn the derived stems, we will be talking about how you can make each of the verbal inflections that you already know in the case of a PL. The next chapter, we will talk about how each of those can be made in the case of a pual. Chapter after that, etc., etc. The exact difference between the cal and the other 6 verbal stems is frequently debated by grammarians, and it would be beyond what introductory grammar should do to try to summarize all that debate here. You can, however, note the broad outlines of the correspondence and relationship between the PL and the cal. So while the cal exists as a basic stem, first, the PL often represents a resultative counterpart. In that sense, you might think that shalach would translate as he sent, the gloss you're used to. Shilach, the PL, would translate as he sent away. Second, the PL often is the causative counterpart to the cal. The cal, lamad, would gloss as he learned. The PL, lemade, would gloss as he taught. Third, the PL often will make an intransitive cal verb, a cal verb that has no object, that cannot take an object, transitive. This use is called the factative. You might also hear it called a state causative. So the cal, kadash, is to be holy. It would translate as he was holy. The PL, kadesh, would translate as he consecrated, he made the thing holy. Fourth, the PL often is a declarative counterpart to the cal. Tzadak will translate as to be right or righteous. Tzedek in the PL would translate as to declare right or righteous. Fifth, the PL is often a denominative form, a form used when you make a verb out of a noun. For instance, kohen is the noun for priest, and kihain translates or glosses the PL to act as a priest. And then sixth, there are other relationships, though they are less common, including verbs that occur only in the PL stem and never occur in a cal form. 3 final notes are in order before we begin exploring the PL paradigms. First, the diversity of functions that we just outlined has led to quite a debate about the exact relationship between the PL and the cal. If a verbal root is used in both stems, aka something like shalach, which shows up in both the PL and the CAL. There's value to discussing why the author chose to use a PL form instead of a CAL form, or a CAL form instead of a PL form. However, if a verb only occurs in the PL stem, like for the most part, davar, then really there is no value in discussing why the author chose to use a PL instead of a CAL, as the PL was the only choice. Second, note that the formation of the PL will be largely focused on doubling the second root letter. Thus, the PL is sometimes called the D-stem, which stands for Doppelstamm, doubled stem in German. And then a third final note before we return to the paradigms. As you will see in the next sections, the endings and prefixes for all the various verbal inflections are going to simply be those you have already learned. So you already, by memorizing the CAL perfect paradigm, know the endings for the perfect. Those same endings will be the endings used for the PL perfect. So both suffixes and prefixes will simply be what you already know. The only changes will be in how the remainder of the verb is formed. For that reason, you will not need to memorize paradigms in the PL or in the PUAL or the HIFIL or any of these derived stems. Instead, you should concentrate on using the paradigms that you have memorized well from the CAL and studying how the changes that correspond to each of the derived stems impact the paradigm. This will vastly minimize the number of paradigms you need to learn and will let you spend your time recognizing and parsing forms.